Guys, have you got any New Year's resolutions?
No.
I have some which are broken up into different categories.
Oh, Chris. Just Chris. Just
What
no.
did you say? I couldn't actually hear him.
You said no straight off the bat. As it,
Straight away,
No.
no.
I don't need to make any resolutions. I'm fantastic as I am.
So my New Year's resolutions is, so when me and Dan, when we went to Snowdon, we had some adult financial talk in a pub. That's sort
yeah,
of-
we did.
So that gave me some motivation to open up like a stocks and shares ISA. And I was speaking to like my colleague at work. So I actually opened up the ISA 13 months ago. And my goal for this year is to double the amount of money I've got in that ISA. That's my main goal for this year, is to get that and get the garden dog proof, so that way at least my dog can actually run around properly. I think they're my two main goals for this year.
Yeah, I think, like, these days resolutions are a bit... it's just like, I want to be more... They can feel very... A lot of them don't really hold much weight, and I think if you really want to do something, realistically, it shouldn't be at New Year's. You just do it from from whenever you want to, if you want to be like, I want to lose weight, you shouldn't wait till New Year's to be like, right, now I'm going to lose weight. If you want to lose weight, go and do it there and then. Like, for example, because I know that's like a big popular one for people when it comes to resolutions.
Yeah, January being the month where the most people buy gym memberships, but also February being like the month where most people cancel their gym memberships.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about me, although it's annoying for another month until the end of February, is at work we have a gym, but I need to pass my probation before I can use it, so I've got to wait till the end of February.
Really?
Yeah, well, I'm not. Although I am an employee, technically, I'm still on probation. I'm on probation, so I can't technically use it.
Is this also including like before and after work? Like, do you still have access to it, or just like something you can do during lunch?
I have access to it before and after work. So if I go on afternoons, I can go there, go for a gym session, have a shower at work, and then get ready for work.
That's awesome.
Or vice versa, work, then go gym, have a shower at work, then go home.
Yeah, saves you have to use the hot water at home.
Yeah,
That's what I do. Like, if I go gym while I'm at work, obviously I make sure I make the most out of the shower system.
For me, my resolution is I want to read more. I'm not talking about manga, because I think manga I can always push myself to read. Manga and graphic novels. I actually want to read books. I used to read so much, and for I don't know when I stopped. I just don't read like I used to, and I find it really frustrating, and I want to read more. For Christmas, I got 2 actual books. One I wanted, and then one of my family members bought me out the blue. She was like, "Oh, I know you like your fantasy, so this had a good review in like the paper, so here you go." I checked it on Goodreads, and it's got really good reviews on Goodreads. So there you go. I've also made a Goodreads account, and each year it has a reading challenge. So I've put down I want to read 35 books, although that does include manga, but at least my aim is to read all of Berserk and all of Fire Punch, and then the rest of it is hopefully for actual books, so I can push myself to read more.
Yeah, if I wasn't doing a PhD, I'd like to be able to read more novels. So like for Christmas, I got 4 of the John Gwynne books, so Valor, Wrath, Ruin, and I can't remember what the other one is, but it's like a short block of them from John Gwynne. They're like quite beefy books, and I'd like to be able to read through those. But obviously doing a PhD, I'm literally stuck to like reading journal articles. Just harder to, well, they're easier to trundle through than what I'd say a novel is, but yeah, still not fun to read.
I wish I could read less, because I keep reading shit on social media that I wish I'd never read in the first place. I feel dumber for doing so. Every day there seems to be something. It's like, people can't be this stupid, surely. Yes,
Some people are. That's
really are.
The worrying thing.
Like, I was going to say, like, the thing about New Year's resolutions is like the reason people do it now is because they've had Christmas, they've had New Year's, and the catalyst is always they've overdone it. They've drank too much, they've ate too much. They feel like poo. But you can do it anytime. They're like, I don't know. So I, for example, like went into hospital because I drank too much, so I sort of stopped drinking. That wasn't the New Year's thing. That can happen anytime.
Yeah. Boxing Day, I went for a run. I was like, well, here we go. And then I proceeded to probably eat more than I did the previous day. But
So the moral is, especially to people on Twitter, get better now, you shit.
Yeah, get better, you Twitter people.
in the words of an artist, musical artist, just take a look at yourself and make a change. There you go.
It's a lovely quote to end on.
And from the quote from another musical artist, ooh, wah, ah, ah, ah. That's got nothing to do with anything.
Wherever you are, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know what time of day you're listening to this, but
Good afternoon.
exactly. Welcome to Victory Achieved. I'm Dan, and I'm with Brandon and Chris, and we are a video game podcast. Although we're not going to start with video games just yet, because I watched the new Godzilla film, Godzilla Minus One. Do either of you
ask why it's called -1?
I don't know. That's what it's just called. Like, I cannot tell you. Even after watching it, I don't know why it's called -1. It's just called.
I believe -1 is a subtle reference to the review score of Godzilla 1998.
Was it that bad?
Oh no, yeah. I've heard. I've not watched it, but I've heard the 1998 one is shit.
That was the first film I've ever seen in the cinema. Well, I thought, wow, that was shit.
Well, it'd be good to know that Godzilla -1 is the highest rated Godzilla film of all time. And
Yay.
I'm going to tell you, I did mention this in our group chat, but I was wrong. Oppenheimer is not as good as Godzilla -1. Fucking hell, Godzilla -1 is easily my favourite film of 2023. Fucking hell, it's amazing.
Here's the thing, though, Dan. Here's the thing. Without Oppenheimer and the nuclear bombs and testing and that, you wouldn't have a Godzilla, because that's how he was formed.
True, you're correct. You're correct.
Godzilla is the sequel to Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they share the same universe.
Yeah.
There's a conspiracy for 2024. There you are.
Yeah.
Off you go. Fanfiction.
This film, I've seen a few Godzilla stuff recently, and you've got the Western monsters versus Godzilla films, and they're fun. They're not perfect, but they're fun. You got the big spectacle of Godzilla fighting whatever monster or fighting King Kong, and they're fun and they're very westernized. You have all the actors and you're like, you know what, I don't care about these human characters, I just want to see big monsters fight. And that's what is quite frustrating with those films. You got to go through a lot of the human moments, which are quite bland, to get to the good monster fights. Then you've got I watched the anime trilogy a couple years ago. Except the first one was okay, the other two were shit. Then you had there was an anime series around the same time. It was okay, but it was a bit weird. Then I watched Shin Godzilla, which came out, I think, early last decade. I think it was last decade. It was the other Japanese Godzilla. It's either produced or directed by the guy who made Neon Genesis Evangelion. So that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to watch it. But Godzilla -1 takes all the frustrating things about everything of all the Godzilla films from the past and all the good things about Godzilla, and just has the perfect package. It is still a film about humans versus Godzilla, and that's fine. But it really, from the moment it begins, it creates its protagonist is relatable, and you engage with his story, even though, it's about Godzilla. But the way his story interacts with Godzilla, you kind of give a fucking shit. It is all in Japanese, so I did watch it with English subtitles, but the story it's set in post World War II, it begins in World War II, and the final days, and Godzilla appears on an island. He's really small at this point, and massacres this whole island. And the main character, he is the one survivor, and from there he's dealing with survivor's guilt, and it's really interesting how it affects him going forward. And then he gets a job, and from that job he re-encounters Godzilla, and from there it continues as Godzilla begins his rampage on post World War II Japan, and the amount, like the action's fantastic, the sound is incredible. Every time you hear the Godzilla theme song, it's incredible. Yeah, it really shows what a good Godzilla film can be. Like if you literally see rankings of any of the Godzilla films right now, or just Godzilla in general, Minus One is literally at the top, and it's got an 8.4 on IMDb, and there's a reason it's got that high of a score. It is really good. The way, like, the final battle is really clever, and it's different. The final battle does remind me of a bit of Shin Godzilla in some ways, but I think Shin Godzilla was just really slow to build up to all the action, whereas Minus One, there's enough action all the way through to make you keep you engaged. There's all the slower human interaction moments are all really good. The main character, or the characters he interacts with, and he has like a little family. Kind of reminded me of a bit of Spy Family, and to a degree of how his little family comes together. It is really emotional, and no, it's really good. There are, some of the plot points are quite obvious. You're like, oh, this is going to happen, and it happens. I think that's the only downside. Some of the plot points are quite obvious, but it's just in a really good package that I left being like, oh man, I would happily rewatch that film right now. It's so fun.
So in conclusion, Godzilla.
Godzilla is Godzilla, yeah.
So I was looking at the Rotten Tomatoes rating for all the Godzillas, and the one at the bottom is Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, well, Mecha Godzilla came back in the last Western Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. Kong. Spoilers if you've not seen that film, but yeah. Yeah, there's like loads of the monsters in Godzilla have like different origins. Like Mechagodzilla has one origin that it's been created by aliens. One that it's been created by humans. Yeah, there's loads of different things.
I want to see some more of the Godzilla films. I remember picking up the 1998 Godzilla when I was at primary school, and at the time, it's been years since I think it was the 1998 one I watched. It was on VHS. I remember enjoying it back then, but I don't know, obviously, as I've grown up, I've yet to watch, remember what actually happens in it.
Well, the Western ones,
the
Western ones are fine, but, like, God of Monsters is probably, like, the best of the bunch so far, which is not, it's quite fun because you got quite a lot of monster fights in that one, but then, Godzilla 2014, there's too much of like Godzilla, and he's just not there, or it's like so dark you only see like a bit of him. Whereas in God of Monsters you see a lot of him, and it's really good. But you got also all the other fucking monsters. And then Godzilla vs. Kong, you got a lot of Kong, which it depends how much you prefer Godzilla or Kong. Also you got Skull Island, which is decent, which is part of the Monsterverse. And you got the new one, I think it's this year, Godzilla, Kong, and I can't remember what the actual tagline is. I saw the trailer yesterday, and I was like, I'd rather just rewatch Minus One, to be honest.
No, did you see it in cinemas? Did you say?
Yeah, I went cinema to see Minus One. It was good. It was quite packed.
So with this cinema, obviously aesthetic, like how did it feel?
It was great,
Because obviously it's a bit different. Like certain films are a bit different watching them at home than they are in the
Let me
cinema.
tell you this: there's the middle act of the film. Godzilla attacks Ginza in Japan, and there's a scene after he uses his nuclear breath where he's just standing with the ash cloud, and the main character's looking up at Godzilla, and it's like the best shot of the film. There was quite a lot of shots in the film that were like long shots. And I noticed that, like, there's the first action scene on the island with Godzilla, there's a whole load of, like, one-shot scenes. And the fact that this is a Japanese film, I was like, this is really well done. Godzilla does feel a lot more, his CGI feels very, a bit wooden in some ways, which has a bit of charm to it, whereas... you watch the Western Godzilla films and he's so fluent. So it depends how much you like that. There's a bit of charm to it. You can definitely tell, even if it wasn't in Japanese, you can definitely tell it's a Japanese, like, film in the way they've handled Godzilla compared to a Western studio.
Yeah, because again, looking at Rotten Tomatoes, it's the only Godzilla Minus One is the only Godzilla film rated above the original.
Yeah,
that's something.
no, it's fantastic. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Godzilla fan, but this was a really good film. And if you've got, I know, I recommend it. But I wasn't the only one who watched the film. Chris, you watched.
Chris did.
Chris
I imagine at least one other person on Earth watched the film in the last couple of weeks. A bit weird, it weren't.
I meant
So
out
wait
of the
for cinema.
three.
Yeah, go on, I'll give you that. Right, so I wish this film had a Godzilla in it because it would have made it more entertaining for me.
Oh
dear.
So I watched a film called Saltburn, which I didn't know anything about it going in, but it was very heavily advertised on Amazon Prime. Like pretty much any time I went to watch anything on it, it's like, oh yeah, watch Saltburn. It's like, fine, I will. Let's talk about something topical. I wanted to talk about something up to date because I haven't really done a lot else. I've been doing more retro stuff, so I wanted to watch something new. Wanted to watch something new, so I watched Saltburn, which stars I'm probably going to butcher his name, Barry Keoghan,
yeah,
the Irish actor.
Yeah.
You may know him from Eternals and Banshees of Inisherin. Good actor, quite like him. Very piercing eyes.
Also on the, I think in the deleted scene of the Batman, he was the Joker.
That is correct, yes. Yeah, I don't know whether they're going to go ahead with that casting going forward, whether they're going to do another the Batman. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, sticking on topic. So Saltburn is it's advertised as a black comedy and like sort of psychological thriller, and it also stars Rosamund Pike. Richard E. Grant's in it as well, so it's got some star power behind it. So I thought, yeah, you know what, I'll give it a go. I like all those actors. So I've got to say, for what is supposedly a black comedy, I didn't laugh once. I quite like a bit of black comedy. I like a bit of stuff like Legal Gentleman, that kind of thing. And I really didn't know what the hell to expect. It's certainly got the psychological thriller angle down. But honestly, I was expecting it to be like how the trailer made it look like it was going to be a lot darker. Like there's going to be more of a sort of, well, I'd say a big twist in it. There is a bit, but I thought it was predictable with where it went. So the premise of it is Barry Keoghan's character, Oliver Quick, is at Cambridge University. Was it Oxford? One of them. Oxford, sorry. It's at Oxford University. He meets this guy called Felix. Apologies, I just got interrupted there. He meets a guy called Felix, and they form a relationship, it's a sort of ambiguous, are they in love kind of story, and this sort of same feeling like cottons onto several other characters as well throughout the narrative. So once they graduate, Oliver says, well, we can't go back to his hometown because his mother's an alcoholic. So Felix essentially asks him to come back to his estate, which is the titular Saltburn. So he goes down there, starts living there, and pretty much spends the summer there, getting to know the rest of the family. And from there, it's kind of a downward spiral. But to really say anything more in depth would be to go into major spoilers. But as I didn't know what was going to go on with this film. When it was all said and done, I think it under-delivered. I know Barry got nominated for a Best Actor for this. I don't think he won for a Golden Globe. Don't think he did. Rosamund Pike got a Best Supporting Actress for it, supposedly. But I just don't think it was all that good. I can't say it was bad, because the acting in it was top-notch, and I was sort of engrossed to see where the hell it was going. But when it was all said and done, I was left feeling a bit underwhelmed. And for a film that's like 2 hours long, it did feel like it dragged a bit. I do feel there's one or two scenes could have been cut. There's a few dialogue things where I think they tend to get repeated a little bit, which didn't seem necessary. It's like you can kind of pick up on where things are going to go from the first encounter. But there's a bigger emphasis on drama. There's no real action in this film at all, which is to be expected for the type of film it is. On the whole, you might like this film. I think mileage is going to vary on this. It's one of those films that feel like it's got a not grander scope per se. How can I put it? A more upper class appeal, I guess. The hard one to nail down.
What do you mean by upper class appeal? As in, just like the rich people will be like, "Oh yeah, this is nice. This is a top film."
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's one of those films that's trying to be more cerebral than I think it is. It's like, aren't we clever? It's like, it probably could have been, but if I can see where this is going, if it had a better ending or other things were laid out, then maybe it could have been slightly better. But I kind of predicted where it was going. Before things happen, and I'm a dumbass, so
I would say that.
Wait, what about it? Well, I will. I know me better than anyone. Yeah, Saltburn. Can't really say I recommend it, but mileage may vary. You might prefer it more than I do. Depends how much you like. If you're more into dramas, say if you're more into stuff like, I don't know, Pride and Prejudice or something, maybe you'll like this a lot more. For me, it was more of a It happened. I'm not going to watch it again.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, that's Saltburn.
What made you watch it? Was it just on the whim?
Yeah, it really was just on a whim, but as I say, it was like heavily pushed by Amazon, and I wanted to watch something new. And when I watched the trailer for it, it's like psychological horror. It's like, oh, where's this gonna go? It's like, is it gonna be like supernatural? It's like, it's more of a, I watched it because I wanted to know what the twist was. It's like, what's happening? It's like, because the trailer's strange. Like it's like it's clearly got a sort of creepy undercurrent, but you don't know what it is. It's like you're not quite sure what sort of genre it's going to go into, whether it's going to be more thriller, more horror, or maybe not at all. It's just how the trailer is. It's more intrigued. It's more being intrigued than anything. I was left wanting.
Well, just as a question, Saltburn is a place. Have either of you been there?
Nope.
Well, I recommend going there. It's a really lovely seaside town in the Yorkshire moors. It's really nice.
So did they, obviously as part of it, did it feel like they would bring on the Yorkshire accent with it?
Oh no, I just had a look at. It's nothing to do with actual Saltburn. I'm just yeah.
No, I did look it up, but no, it's just like the name of the estate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just had to, because it's called Saltburn, I had to bring it up because I went, oh no, it wasn't last year, it was the year before. I went to Saltburn for my mum's birthday, and that was where I began playing Octopath Traveler 1. So that's how, it was a really nice weekend when I went there. So, come Brandon, you've been playing something.
So yeah, so I've had one of my viewers asking for me to play Ender Lilies. I've been playing Arknights, Terraria. I've got a nice little Terraria group, but one of my viewers was probably feeling a bit left out. They don't really feel that interested in Terraria, so they said, "Oh, you should get Ender Lilies." And then during the New Year's sales, Ender Lilies was on offer on Steam, so I picked it up, and I am having a really, really good time with it. It is a Metroidvania style game, so similar to the likes of Salt and Sanctuary, Hollow Knight, games like that. The whole premise of this game is you are basically I want to say almost like a junior priest girl. So you're sort of trying to work your way up to be like a high priestess, and there's basically some form of disease or corruption has spread out and is basically turning people into these monsters. And so you can see that sort of Bloodborne aesthetic with that. And then you've got the horror aspects woven in. You've got the real telling stories. And every time you fight a boss, the bosses tend to be people that your character used to know who have now become corrupted. So once you've beaten them in their sort of mutant form, they're basically then sort of I want to say vanquished or relieved per se, and you basically gain their skills to use yourself. And early game you're only limited to a couple skills at a time. Then as you explore more and more into the world, you get more and more perks and stuff, so you can gradually use more and more skills to give yourself that mobility around the map and explore different places. I'm only maybe about 3 or 4 hours into it at the moment. A few of the bosses I've done first try, but there was one boss, I can't remember his name, but he gave me a hard time. And the amount of times I had stupid deaths against him was just ridiculous. Art in it is beautiful. The soundtrack in it is beautiful. The combat in it is okay. I think the main thing, I said this on stream, the main problem I have with this game, it has this leveling system where obviously you fight things and you have this level counter on the top left of your screen, which gradually goes up. But apart from just increasing your attack by 1, so far I don't really see what the point of a leveling system is, because it doesn't give you it doesn't feel like you get any benefit from it. You don't get to do any choice or customization with what sort of route you go to. I hate to compare it, but the likes of Dark Souls or Skyrim, any other sort of RPG game, when you level up, you could basically choose what to do with a level up. Do you want to spec into a skill? Do you want to increase one of these stats? Do you want to do something like that? But it doesn't really just give you choice. It's just basically just a number. It just says, it's basically an indicator of how many things you've killed rather than, how necessarily good you are at the game or whatever. So so that's probably what I'd say is my only gripe so far with the game. Everything else feels great. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of it yet, Dan.
I just had a look at pictures, but the leveling, you're saying when you level up, reminds me of, I didn't actually mention this last podcast, but on Final Fantasy 16, when you level up and it's just, there's your level up screen, you're like, cool, right, and then you just move on. It just feels like your health is increased, these are all increased, but then it doesn't even feel like anything's that different. Probably what you said.
You don't even get a level up screen on Ender Lilies. It just basically says, "Oh, level up." It's the number in the top left just changes, and you're just like, "Oh, okay, is that it?" And then the only way you notice what's happening is you look at your stats before you level up, and then you look at your stats after you level up, and your attack's just gone up by 1. Like it in the grand scheme of things, it's negligible for how much HP some of the monsters have. But yeah, like I said, I picked it up when it was an offer. It was like £10 at the time. I am really, really having a good time with it. Likewise with like the Soulsborne games, there is like a new game plus version of it. So once you complete the game and go for it a second time, apparently the bosses have different movement mechanics and are a lot more faster, aggressive movement patterns and stuff like that. So I'll be interested to see, like, if I complete it, do I dare go for like completing all the Steam achievements for it to take it further? Not quite sure, but it's something that I'm definitely going to keep playing, like, you know, over the next few weeks to try and finish it. But yeah, if you want like a Metroidvania with gothic styles, and yeah, I highly check out Ender Lilies. I'm having a good time with it.
I did actually watch you play it for a little bit.
You did.
It did seem a little bit intriguing. Like, I've got to say, I'm not much for the anime girl protagonist.
Yeah, granted.
Doesn't float my boat. It's all down to the gameplay, and it looked quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you saw me having a hard time against one of those bosses. I can't remember his name. It begins with G. I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to Google it now just to abate my brain.
Great big bastard.
Great big bastard. And the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, don't get me started on the dogs. And murder chickens. So
Yeah, murder chickens.
after I did the stream, so one of the bosses basically dropped me like a pet, like a raven or something to do range damage, and I kept calling it a murder chicken. And Chris works in a store, and he politely made me a murder chicken sandwich for £50.
I did indeed.
That was very much appreciated.
Yeah, it looks like
£50? You 5?
Yeah,
What?
Chris literally made, you know, like you make the labels for items and you stick them on the shelves to show you like what the item is and how much it costs.
Right.
And Chris printed it and said murder chicken sandwich 50.00.
Oh, okay.
So
do you know how
yeah.
Do you know how rare murder chickens are? Regular chickens are like cheap, but murder chickens they're fucking expensive, mate. They're very rare. Well, they are now.
Yeah, exclusive only to your shop.
Yes, for a limited offer of 1, which we sold, so there's no more. yeah, it looks like something I might pick up at some point. The main reason I watched you play it is because a couple of people have suggested I should give it a go. So because I like Metroidvanias and Souls like combined. So yeah, it's on my to playlist, but my to playlist is longer than my arms.
I'm just looking through the first couple of bosses. So Sigrid is the first boss, who just looks amazing. Then you go, Gerard, that's his name, that bastard. Yeah, Gerard the Elder Warrior. His AoEs are just bullshit, basically. But it says here, like, I'm looking on the guide. It says recommended level 11, but the levels don't do shit. So what's the point in having this recommended levels? I don't get it.
Are you sure there's just not a game mechanic you're completely overlooking when it comes to
I don't know, but there's
Souls games like to do that. It's like, there's a mechanic like we've decided not to tell you about.
It says here, leveling increases your base attack power. So Ender Lilies is an RPG that has a max level of 100, with players increasing their level by hunting down monsters for EXP known as Blight. There are various benefits to leveling in Ender Lilies, and this game guide gives you some tips. So leveling increases your base attack power. So if you come across a zone in Ender Lilies that you're struggling with, leveling up might be the difference between surviving one more shot. What do you mean survive one more shot? Your HP is not increased when you level up. Instead, your HP is increased by equipping relics. Yeah, so even on the wiki, it just says all it does is increases your attack. Like, how? Like, what do you mean it does multiple things? It doesn't.
Well, just get good then, I guess.
Yeah, the spirit skills. So, like, every time you fight a boss, you get their spirit to use as a different attack. You've got relics, and apparently there's different endings as well. So that'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Mm.
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 Right, I'm going back on mute because I feel like my chest is going to explode.
Well, Chris, you played Powerwash Simulator with Adrian.
I did play Powerwash Simulator, yes. I haven't got an awful lot to say about this game. I know it's like extremely popular on Twitch, at least it seems to be, because I keep seeing a lot of people play it, and it came to PlayStation Plus, so I was like, "Oi, Adrian, do you want to play this?" And she was like, "Do I have to? Please don't talk to me anymore." I thought, "No, fuck it, come on." So we were getting bored of like playing Dead Island and complaining about the mini-map every single session. So we thought we would complain about something else instead. So we played Powerwash Simulator for a bit. And I thought at first, it's like, okay, it does have a sort of a campaign, like you get money and unlock more cleaning supplies as you go on. I thought, okay, so it does have some kind of progression. It's not just like fucking around in the sandbox with your mates. But I'll tell you what, after like 10 minutes, both of us are like, this is pretty much turned exactly how we thought it was going to go. It's like for us, it got boring quite quickly. Like once you got over the initial fact, it's like, hey, we can write swear words in the dirt. That only gets you so far. It only gets you so far. You can doodle rude things everywhere, which admittedly chat found hilarious. When we were playing, it's like, okay, chat, quick, what swear word should we write in this big patch of dirt here? But honestly, after that, the actual playing it properly, yeah, we found it immensely boring, especially when you've like nearly cleaned the entire map, and the game works on a percentage of like X amount is like clean. When you get down to like that last 1%, which could be literally anywhere on the map, you do have a thing that like tells you what's still left to clean, but you still got to find what the hell that means and the exact spot it wants you to do, because even though dirt is mostly visible, sometimes when it's like 1 pixel and it's like in the corner of like 2 other things, you can't see it. It's telling you it's dirty and you'll be spraying it for like 5 minutes until the game suddenly decides to go, oh yeah, fuck it, it's clean now. So it's got really, really infuriating. Like we're spraying 1 plank for like 10 minutes, like between the 2 of us going, why aren't you clean, you bastard? Until eventually just went, yeah, all right, fine. Yeah, so we found it quite infuriating. We're actually, for me, like, because I was playing it for like 3 hours straight, which is probably not recommended. It might be more tolerable if you just like do it in quick bursts for like 20 minutes or something, or like just do 1 level at a time. It might be okay, because it is quite a chill game. So I understand why people might like this kind of thing. Like anyone who likes other like simulator games, you don't want any conflict. You're all doomed out. Like, you can't handle any more explosions. You just want to clean a swing set for a bit.
Clean a swing set for a bit.
Well, you do. That's literally what happens. Yeah, you might like this game. Like, it's very much not for me. Give me Doom any day. Yeah, I tell you what. One thing we found, like progression, even though you can do it, it seems incredibly slow. We're doing it after 3 hours, and I only unlocked like 1 thing. They're like, oh, what do you need? Like 900 bucks. But you clean something, you get like $1. It's like, oh, this is going to take quite the time, and it does. It takes ages. But as far as I'm aware of it, we were playing it on PlayStation, but I think if you play it more on PC, like more online, there are like player creative maps, so you pretty much got endless cleaning potential. But for me, the kind of game it is, like, I'm sitting here cleaning a virtual like garden. I could be sorting out my own garden doing. Yeah,
that's my New Year's resolution.
Yeah. I do think it could benefit from like a sort of sandbox destruction mode as well. It probably would be more fun if you reverse it. It's like, make everything dirty again. But I guess that's not the object of the game.
Make everything dirty, then make it clean.
Blow everything up mode, what you want. That's what I want anyway. Yeah. If you want to play it for 5 minutes, write the word bum in the dirt and then just move on with your life. That's my recommendation.
I know there's a Warhammer 40k crossover coming at some point. I think it was meant to be last year, but I think it's been delayed, so it comes this year at some point. So
there were 2 packages featured when we booted it up. There was one for like Back to the Future and another one for like Final Fantasy VII, like Midgar, because it's.
What?
I believe it's. Yeah, I know. I think it's Square that make Powerwash Simulator, so they've got the right.
Well, you know why? Because they can't let Final Fantasy VII go. It's like a dead horse. They keep on beating it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what exactly you clean that, but I imagine like the best part for a cleaning simulator to come in is not cleaning simulator, power simulator to come in would be the point of the game where they drop the plate onto is it District 9?
Yeah.
Quite as good as if you could role play as like the cleanup squad that turns up for Shimmer and go, oh dear, that's gonna take a little while. We're going to need a bigger dustpan and brush for that.
Oh dear, you know. Yeah, I was listening to. It wasn't time recording. It was a while back. I think it was the penultimate episode of Trash Taste of 2023, and Connor was like, "Oh, I've played Final Fantasy VII this year. Oh, I absolutely loved it." But that's what I've always thought. I think the fans of Final Fantasy VII just make it so toxic. It's what I hate about Final Fantasy VII. Just the fans. I love the game, hate the fans.
Oh yeah, a lot of games have their sort of toxic fandoms, and the Final Fantasy VII one is one of the worst.
It is one of the worst. I absolutely detest it.
The Final Fantasy VII fandom now is like split down the middle, because you know, like the ones that like the die hard is like, no, only in the original, which I fall very much into that camp.
Yeah, I think I fall into that as well. But and then it's like,
you got the fans a little more.
Oh yeah, but you know, remake and rebirth. Oh, it's like, no, this isn't.
I couldn't give two shits about rebirth.
It's It's like, oh, we're going to make a remake. They did not make a remake.
Nope.
There you go.
A reimagining.
Oh, Zach's alive. Oh, what? Anyway.
Yeah, it's like point missed. It's like, oh, you've undone all the emotional involvement. Yeah. No, it feels kind of like superhero-ish. It's like no one's Death Matter anymore. You can just like undo it and magic, or we want more money button.
Well, I guess back to something. I actually watched because on Netflix they finally uploaded all the latest Pokemon anime for Ash Ketchum, and I watched it all. But you're wondering why I'm talking about this? Well, it's the final. If you're not aware, or Ash Ketchum's time in the anime has come to an end.
Ash Ketchum.
Ash Ketchum, yes.
What, is he now turned 11?
Yes. No. He's still on his adventure. He's just, we don't watch it anymore. It's now, because if you watch the Paideia season, which is on BBC iPlayer, which I didn't realise, it's got a new character. Ash isn't in it anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. So I watched the final season of the Galar journeys, and that was fun. The final battle between Ash and Leon was really good, although Ash technically cheats, but Leon makes him cheat. So it's like, okay. But it was really good fun, and you always find in those Pokemon battles, they always put all the animation into them, and it'll always look fantastic. It's why the final battle of Pokemon Sun and Moon, the anime for that is like my favourite Pokemon battle in the entirety of the franchise. It's just incredible. I think that was better than Ash versus Leon. But then afterwards they did another Pokemon season, which is the final episodes for Ash. And to put it in a nutshell, it's just Indigo League again, but Ash uses every single fucking Pokemon he has. And it's just another 11 episodes of Ash with Misty and Brock on an adventure, dealing with Team Rocket every episode. It's just more of the Indigo League, pretty much. But then Ash is not an idiot. He'll use his Dragonite, he'll use his Charizard, he'll use his Bulbasaur, he'll use his Lapras, he'll use his Snorlax. In the final episode, he uses his Pidgeot. It uses everything. It's great. There's an episode where it has a Squirtle squad, and it was really emotional. No, it was fun. Like, was there going to be any big revelations? No. It was just a nice, fine fan service, and, it was fine. It was fun. Don't expect anything, but, it's sad to see the end of Ash's anime story.
Right, I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
1, does Ash pay for Misty's bike?
No.
What a prick.
Banter.
Question 2, does Brock end up with anyone?
No.
The
thing is, he's got close a few times. Like,
I kind of shit him and James, to be honest.
There's like a few times he's got really close, and then he's just like, oh no, it didn't work out. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. Like 11 episodes. All fine, fun, nothing too serious. But there was another Pokemon anime that came out over Christmas called Pokemon Conceige. Have either of you seen or know anything about this?
Of course not.
I've seen the trailer for it and thought, oh, it's on Netflix, I can't watch it.
This show is, I think I said this on New Year's Eve to my friends. I was like, my top 10 anime with my honourable mentions, I would have swapped The Boy and the Heron with Pokemon Concierge.
Oh. Good.
It's just a fun, cozy show. That's all it is. It's all stop motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know of the anime Rilakkuma. It's by that same studio, and that's all stop motion, like Felt. It's just that, but with Pokemon. So it was an instant win, and literally. Everyone who's watched it is just like, oh, it's so good. Like, it's nothing serious. It's all set on an island. This woman who doesn't have a Pokemon, after she's had a bad breakup, she gets a new job, comes to this island and works as a concierge. It's just like a caretaker. She befriends a Psyduck. It's instantly made me go, you know what? I really like Psyduck now. Psyduck is the cutest in this anime. Got like a felt Dragonite as one of the main Pokemon, which is obviously an instant win in my books. It's got a lot of Pokemon from all the generations. There's nothing serious. It's only 4 episodes. I binged all 4 back to back. Just lay in bed watching it, playing some Pokemon. That was great. It was such a nice way to end my evening while I was before going back to work. Yeah, it was great. Like I said, it's nothing serious, but if you just want a nice, relaxing show that is going to take less than 2 hours to watch all 4 episodes, there you go.
Well, Bombardier is the heaven Pokemon, so you've kicked that heaven out of your party then, from the sounds of it, and replaced it with Psyduck.
Bombardier? I don't even know.
Scarlet and Violet.
That's why. That's why I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I couldn't remember that Pokemon. To be honest.
Yeah.
From
is that memorable? He's one of the boss fights, and no one can remember it.
From like Gen 8 and 9, I now forget a lot of the Pokemon. Up to Gen 7, I pretty much remember most Pokemon. Gen 8 and 9, I forget now. I'm like...
Yeah, it gets a bit ridiculous from then on.
Yeah, I think I can comfortably name everyone up until like Gen 3, and after that it gets a bit spotty.
The thing is, I've said this before, like, my favourite gens of actual Pokemon, some of them are the later ones. Like, Gen 5 is always... Gen 3, obviously Gen 1, 3... 5. I actually think Gen 6 is quite a strong gen. It's just there's only 69 Pokemon. Nice. They're all quite strong generation of Pokemon. 4 is kind of good, but it's also so unbalanced that I'm a bit like But it reinvents and actually makes Gen 2 good. So that's the only good thing about Gen 4, where it's got all the additional evolutions. Why I do like it. Anyway, I was talking about Pokemon Concierge. Anyway, yeah, Pokemon Concierge. Good fun. I recommend watching it. It's nothing too serious. Just a nice watch. Nice watching with the kids if you have kids. Obviously, I don't. But if you have kids, it's a good one to watch with them.
Well, you've nailed down both categories of viewers there. You can watch it with kids or not if you don't have them.
Yeah, there you go. Literally today, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw someone watching it, and I was like, and they were like, "Oh, this is really, really good." And I was like, everyone's loving it. It's such a breath of fresh air. I want more episodes right now, but there's only 4.
So are they actually going to release more, or is that it in its entirety?
No, I think they are going to release more. Like, if that was the last 4, if that's all they're doing, I'd be like, no, like, you can't do that. I think they are going to do more. Like, the 4th episode is all about a Pikachu, and it was really, really lovely. It's good.
Well, I've got one more game to discuss before we move on. We don't kind of got a main topic, probably. Maybe we'll wing it. We'll wing it like we always do.
We're still coming out of New Year. We're still like dealing with getting back into work, like, and stuff like that, and catching up with certain things. At the moment, I'm like binging Attack on Titan, so a lot of other stuff I'm not really watching. Game-wise, I've been playing Pokemon Crystal, doing a Nuzlocke on that, so I haven't really played anything new. So, it's just a bit of a slow couple of weeks. We'll be back into the swing of thing. Don't even know when new releases are either for games.
Yeah. Well, thankfully it's my birthday in a few days, so I've got at least 3 things to talk about in the next episode. So we are good. But yeah, early January is always a bit of a dry season for gaming. Like, they try and release things before Xmas this time of year. It's like, what new releases are out? Bugger all. Wait till February. Anyway, so one game I want to highlight, which I've been playing. It's actually a fair few years old. I think it's like 6 years old or so. But recently, I've been replaying like the Legend of Grimrock games, which are like dungeon crawler, grid-based things. But I thought, there's another one that I downloaded ages ago, which I never beat. I started playing it, enjoyed it, and I think I just got distracted by something else. But I went back to it, and you know what? I'm going to stick with it this time because I am quite enjoying it. And that game's called Vaporum. So it is right literally on the title. It's called Vaporum Steampunk Dungeon Crawler, which is a very apt description of what it is. So aesthetically, it looks a lot like BioShock, like Rapture in particular. Same sort of setting. Like, you start up as a guy who's like in some kind of what seems to be like under the sea compound, and you're just trying to unravel the mystery of what's the hell's going on, basically. So how this works is you move one style at a time. Like, you turn around, like solve puzzles that way, like, doing the old usual pushing blocks, getting into combat, which is in real time, but you can avoid them by strafing out the way. You've got some modules which act kind of like magic, which act on a sort of cooldown of mana system. It's called something else, but for all intensive purposes, it's magic, it's spells. And then you've got different classes of weapons. So you've got like blunt blades, you can dual wield, or you can use like a shield. But thankfully, if you want to mix things up a little bit, there's like you can just like press one key and it changes your loadout. So you can essentially have two loadouts. So say if you're fighting something melee, but then something's ranged, you can switch and like use a gun or rifle or something at a drop of a hat. What makes things slightly more intriguing when it comes to your characters, like you do level up in this game, but they are very few and far between. And there's like several skill trees, and each one like correlates to like a different weapon type or your own build, like more HP kind of thing. So you really kind of do have to focus on just like a couple of skills. Like it kind of helps if you got like a build in mind before you go ahead. So because you don't get many levels, you can't just like change your mind like halfway through and go, blades aren't really working for me, let's switch to hammers. It's like, yeah, you're not going to have enough skill points to really flesh it out. But hey, you can always play it again. So on my replay of this, because my memory from years ago is very blurry at best, I'm about 5 hours in, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I've focused more on a dual wielding blade build, which can apply things like bleed, poison if you find like the correct kind of items. Your inventory is quite limited as well, so you can't like pick up everything. There's no shops or anything. It's just if you can't carry it, just drop it on the ground. There's plenty of puzzles to be found, some of which you need to progress. If you're very perceptive, there are hidden panels and secrets. I think there's like several on every floor you can find, which are normally worth seeking out because you can find like permanent upgrades or just flat out better equipment than what you've got. So it pays to look around. If I have one minor gripe with it, enemies like are sometimes feel a bit cheap. Like there's a few times where you can get like jumped on by, I'd probably say like one too many enemies, and you can't get around them sometimes. Even like I've looked at like speed one or two of this just to see, just like to refresh my memory on how it was before I played it again. And even when they're going through repeats, there's like a couple of bits where they seem to get like bottlenecked. It's like, oh no, I think I've just ruined the speed run there because the enemies decided to be a twat. Yeah, I do though. Recommend it quite a lot. It's not like uber expensive, and apparently it's got a sequel as well, which I have not played, called Vaporum's Lockdown, which I'm going to look up after I've finished recording this and maybe purchase. But yeah, if you like bit-based dungeon crawlers, this is another one to put on the pile. GOG, it's got a 4.1 out of 5. Steam, it's got a 9 out of 10. And it's not going to break the bank. I've actually been playing it on the Switch, which is weird. That's say about 8 years ago when the Switch library wasn't massive. It was one of the first games to be released on it, I think, back in 2017. So a little while after the Switch came out, but there weren't much to play, and this one caught my attention. And I'm glad it did. I'm enjoying it. Give it a watch. Give it a watch. Give it a go. I'll watch someone play it. I might.
Watch Spanky play it.
Yeah, I might play it at some point. We'll see. But yeah, good game. Vaporum. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking through screenshots of it. Like the second one, Vaporum Lockdown.
Does it look intriguing to you?
I've never really played any of the dungeon. I've never really played a dungeon crawler, so it does look quite fascinating.
Just think of it as just like a first-person shooter, just like one move at a time, like a big chess game.
When you say one move at a time, do you mean like you click and it goes forwards like to a new area, or is it as in
it's like literally like one step forward? Unlike something like Legend of Grimrock, you don't have like a party of 4. You've literally just got the one character. Really, really good.
Oh yeah, I'm just watching the gameplay trailer right now. Yeah. Oh, so does it even turn automatically as well?
You do it all yourself. So.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah,
so you get combat in it. How does the combat is that?
So the combat's in real time. So, but you, if you're trying to get past them, you want to like step to the left or right to avoid their like full frontal attack. But the enemy, depending on the enemy, is like they follow the same rules as you do, so they move like one step at a time, and they can strafe as well. Depending on their attacks, some of them have got like AOE's, so like do a sort of grid around them. So you need to move a couple of spaces out of the way. But if you're jumped on by multiple of them, you can't physically go past an enemy. So if you're like stuck between a wall and then there's 3 other enemies like one on either side of you, you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm looking at like the AOE and the enemies in there. That looks like hell.
It's surprisingly fun. Like you do get enough abilities like later game to like deal with like more crowd control, as one may expect, but it really depends on how you spec into your character. But the game does like introduce like new enemies at sort of drip pace. Like the first level of it is pretty much just a tutorial. Like, do this, like mash hit blocks to get rid of them, strafe around the enemy to do this, use this kind of magic for this. So you got plenty of options to deal with things. I do feel though, there is one other contentious point. If you heal, you use like a healing item, but because like things like enemies don't respawn or anything, they're essentially in limited supply.
Oh.
And so if you get off to a really bad start, I think I haven't got to like the late games, so maybe there's a point where you can like replenish them. I'm not sure, but currently there isn't. So I feel like if you play like really badly at the start, you may have just like doomed your entire playthrough because like, oh fuck, I've got no healing items left. I've got no way to recharge my magic. But thankfully, it's got like a sort of quick save option. Even on the Switch, you can just like press 2 buttons to like save at any point. So you kind of know before you go into a big room, it's like it's going to be a fight in there. Quickly save my game before I step forward. If the encounter goes badly, just reload. If it goes fine, hooray! So you can do that. There is like what's kind of traditional with these type of games. There is also an Iron Man mode. So if you die once, that's it. It runs over and it turns off like auto saving. If you want to do it in one run, go for it.
I'm just broadly looking at Dungeon Crawler on Steam, and I just noticed that the Elder Scrolls 2 is free.
Oh, Daggerfall.
Yeah.
It's been free for a while. I don't think I've ever seen it not free. That's not a dungeon crawler. Well, it is, but it's not like grid based.
Well, it's also including games like there's Hades as well, but that's more a roguelike rather than a dungeon crawler.
Yeah, it's one of those terms that can pretty much mean anything, like action. It's like, we might need to narrow that down a bit. Is it Might and Magic 10? That's another good dungeon crawler, like grid based one. And I say both the Legend of Grimrock are like S tier. Right? They're the best of the best of the best.
Okay, I finally found a proper dungeon crawler. That's Lunacid.
I'm unfamiliar with that one.
It came out on literally Halloween last year.
How do you spell that?
Lunacid. Lunacid. It looks like it's got the same aesthetics as like old school Elder Scrolls. Like, well, I say old school, like Morrowind.
It kind of looks like it's just like From Software. So I imagine that's more like Eternal Ring or Kingsfield.
Yeah. So literally like inspired from games like Shadow Tower and Kingsfield.
Yeah, I might look at that. I quite like those games, but they're like not grid based. They're like proper real time.
Yeah.
I might
completely forgot about dungeon crawler as a genre. It looks found another free game. Hell yeah, I'm taking that.
I do recommend the Kingsfield games, but one, they're very difficult, and second, because they're older, they're quite convoluted as well. Like progress, you can pretty much just get lost by not knowing something about the game that it doesn't tell you. You kind of need a wiki on standby to tell you where to go. Anyhow, right. Unless we've got anything else to discuss, shall we move on to what I've mostly been doing most of the time?
I think go for it, yeah.
Yeah, all right then. So, we have mentioned the console, the Sega Saturn, a couple of times, but I do feel it's one that gets overlooked a lot, and I don't think it's fair because it's one of my favourite consoles. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I finally, after all these fucking years, managed to get a stable Sega Saturn emulator up and running. I think whoever does the technical wizardry to get this kind of thing working has finally sussed it. I mean, I've had Sega Saturn emulators before, but they've always been very glitchy or just don't run properly or play like arse or no proper controller support or just a combination of all of them, which makes them practically unplayable. But now I've got a way of doing it, which I will not tell you how to do. If you want to know, YouTube. It's YouTube. Yeah, so I've been playing some of the games I played, well, it would be about getting on for 30 years ago. It would be in 1995, 96, I was playing this. So Sega Saturn, when it first came out, was very expensive for the time. I got one pretty much at launch for, I believe, £450, which was a lot of money in those days.
Wait, how much?
£450.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, one of the first nails in the coffin for the Saturn. It was PlayStation doing the infamous, or famous for them, display of their one, where the only thing they said is like they went up to the podium and just went $199. So that was it. PlayStation wins. It's like literally more than half the price. So yeah, but initially the Sega Saturn did really well in Japan, like the first sort of year. So us across the seas didn't get it for nearly a year after Japan had it, and it flopped in North America hard because they were competing with the PlayStation, and it didn't help. The launch of the Sega Saturn was very rushed. If you look at the graphics for something like one of its first games, like Daytona or Virtua Fighter, and then compared that to Tekken, it's not even a comparison. The PlayStation looks infinitely better because they took their time with it. Whereas the Saturn, they really wanted to get it out before the PlayStation, sort of just rushed it. So there's like the first two reasons why it failed. In it didn't last all that long. It was kind of discontinued in 1998, so it only really lasted like 3 or 4 years, depending on how you look at it. So yeah, not the most spectacular one. So put it this way, I have PS5. That's like 3 years old. So, and if that like died tomorrow, you'd be like, oh, it lasted about as long as the Sega Saturn did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I always think it's not fair because even though it was an incredibly rocky start, it did have some fantastic titles on, some of which got fleshed out, some of which didn't, but I'll just rattle off a few names. Games I really enjoy, like Virtua Fighter is still a franchise that's going, to my knowledge. What else was on it? I keep going to say a few names, but there were also versions of it on the PlayStation as well.
That's literally what I'm looking at the moment. I'm looking through a 100 game list, and the only games on there that I've played is Rayman and Croc: The Legend of Gobbos.
Yeah, I think in some cases the Saturn ports are better. Like rapidly, like once it had like time to sort of cook.
What was the big Sonic game on the Sega Saturn?
I mean, none of them.
There was a Knights game that apparently is on a lot of top 10 lists.
Yeah, Nights into Dreams was very popular. Which got a sequel on the Wii.
All the Sega Saturn Sonic games, like the weird ones, like Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R.
Yeah, but they're like arcade ports.
Yeah.
There's stuff they did on there as well.
That's one of the other killer things for the Sega Saturn. It didn't have a proper Sonic game. It had a couple of spin-offs or like arcade ports, and then it had Sonic Jam, which was just a compilation of like 1, 2, and 3, and Knuckles. Although I remember being very happy receiving that game when I originally had my Saturn, because I got that for 50p.
Oh, wasn't Sonic CD on the Saturn?
I think that might have been on Sonic Jam. Is that a compilation? Or was that? No, that might not have been out until the Sonic Gems collection on the GameCube.
Sonic Jam, Sega Saturn, Sonic CD, 1997, Sega CD.
Yeah, here's another thing about the Rush thing. So one of the first sort of killer apps, as it were, was a game called Clockwork Knight, which is like trying to showcase what kind of graphical stuff the Saturn could do. And for its time, quite impressive. A lot of 3D models on like a 2D background. And yeah, for the time, it looked really good. And the thing is, it was split between Clockwork Knight 1 and 2. And that was because it was rushed. It was all initially meant to be one game, because together, both games are pretty short, because they are essentially one title split in half. But because the Saturn was rushed, they couldn't get the game finished. So they just launched Clockwork Knight, like the first half of it. And like, there you go. That's your like launch title, which was one of the first games I played for it. I believe I had that, Daytona, and a football game, which I wouldn't have bought, but it was part of the package. I got that. But there were quite a few notable titles on it. You had Baku, which is a very good puzzle game. Plays a little bit like Columns Tetris, but with farmyard animals, so get the kids entertained. You had ports of House of the Dead, which was actually, I think it didn't do very well. House of the Dead, I think the port
the reviews say
it's a bit crap. There's like it put like loading screens in it when it weren't in the arcade. I was like, oh, it like kills the pace. But you did get Virtual Cop with the light gun, and I tell you what, the light gun in it was one of my favorite light guns growing up. Like if you like those type of rail shooter games, Virtual Cop was a great time. Although I think it was overshadowed somewhat by Time Crisis PlayStation. But honestly, one of my favorite RPGs of all time ever, which I've done a couple of streams of recently, I'm going to continue with, was Shining the Holy Ark. And if you look up Shining with regards to Sega, it's a big RPG franchise, but it like dabbles in multiple genres. I think the most notable franchise is Shining Force, like 1 and 2, like turn-based RPGs, the tactical ones, which are fucking amazing.
Basically,
Shining,
just like Fire Emblem.
Pretty much, yeah. Minus all like the
medieval
talk.
Yeah, Shining Force seems more like dystopian or post-apocalyptic in like sci-fi kind of thing. Isn't it? Or am I getting that wrong?
Not really. A little bit. There's a couple of bits, but not really.
Basically, I'm wrong.
It is like Swords and Sorcery type deal.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Anyway, but Shining the Holy Ark is again, like we were talking about earlier, a first-person sort of dungeon crawler, but grid-based, but with like turn-based combat, like in random battles, as you may expect from that era. But honestly, I really, really enjoy it. Really like it. The plot's like, well, it's Japanese RPG, so pretty much nonsensical, but but it's a lot of fun to play even now. So some of the games I've been playing, I do think hold up quite well even now. If you can get past the initial graphics, they still play all right. Me and my buddy Lone Wolf GB, he came over, showing me emulator. First thing he wanted to play, Athlete Kings for the Sega Saturn. And Athlete Kings was a athletic game, which when you look at it is basically like mini games. So you do things like 100 meters, you do hurdles, you do like a pole vault, which back in the day none of us could work out how the fuck to do because you got to do like a very precise button combination.
What, like an early game version of QWOP?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but we could never do it. I think the entire time we had it, I think one or two of us managed to put it off like once, and it was like by pure accident. It's like I've got no idea what the fuck I just did, but it worked. But honestly, we're still having fun with it. Some of the games do just boil down to just mash the buttons as hard as you can, as fast as you can. That's the nature of the game. So, but still a fun time. Feel good. You can see where things like WarioWare and stuff like that got their ideas from. But in an athletic setting, it must be good because it's a sports game, and I don't play sports games, but I don't mind that. You can have a laugh at your mates playing it. Another notable one for me, Bug, which is like a sort of pseudo 3D platformer, whereas it's really hard to explain without visuals. But Bug is a platformer with pseudo 3D because basically the entire level is like on platforms which sort of like go in and around the camera and sort of tilt. So imagine Mario 64, but instead of being able to run around freely, you were like on a kind of grid or just like a corridor.
Oh,
I know it's a strange one to wrap your head around, but if you look at it like visually, then yeah, it makes sense. But you also got to bear in mind these came out before Mario 64, and I think some of them still play quite well. So I think they were innovative for the time. They had they had a lot of limitations, and they tried to work around them because, as I stated before on this show, the Sega Saturn was incredibly hard to emulate and to actually work for. Just like porting games like Croc and Command and Conquer was a fucking nightmare.
What makes it so difficult?
A couple of reasons. It's mostly just the hardware itself. It used, I think, instead of like having like the PlayStation's like 32 bits, so it's just got like the one processor. I know nothing technical about computers, so I'm just probably going to talk bollocks for anyone who knows. But the Sega Saturn like processor thing was like split down the middle, so it's like 216 rather than 132, which made porting games and just making games on it a pain in the ass. It did have a slight edge on the N64 when that launched in '96, not graphically, but just because it used CDs rather than cartridges, so they could get more data on it.
Oh yeah.
So they had that going for it. Yeah. What other games you had? You had Storia 4, which was a top-down RPG, which was utilized sort of cartoony graphics, which was great. And I'll tell you what, it's got, for my money, you know the franchise Bomberman?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. For my money, it's got the single best Bomberman game on it, just called Saturn Bomberman. It's got like a proper campaign, like single player mode, which is not like super long or anything. I think the whole thing consists of like 30 levels, but it's got proper boss fights. It's got like plenty of power-ups. The level design's fun. There's a lot of like funny little animations if you pay attention. It's quite charming in its own little way, and it's never been beaten. Don't know why. I like the Bomberman games, but this is still the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned. Graphically, musically, it's good. It's just fun gameplay. It's just, if you want the top-notch Bomberman game, Saturn Bomberman's where it's at.
For me, it's Bomberman Generations on the GameCube. I adored that game to bits.
That's the 3D one, isn't it?
Yeah, I adored that game.
The Saturn one's like the traditional sort of top-down deal.
Top-down destroy block ones.
That's the one, yeah. But to get past every level, there's like certain like nodes that you've got to destroy. So you can get past the levels without killing everything and like unlocking the whole level. So long as like you destroy the nodes, then you can get past. But you also don't want to do that because you want to find out every single power-up. Thankfully, some of the power-ups carry on when you lose a life. If you get like a game over and have to continue, you can pretty much start from scratch. But I wouldn't say the game's like too hard. In fact, most of the time, the reasons you die is because you fuck up yourself. You end up trapping yourself with your own bomb. You're like, oh shit. It's not the enemy's fault. It's on you half the time. So if the game can get incredibly easy, if you're like you're half decent and still have like all your upgrades, like you can have like tons of bombs, like loads of firepower, or my favorite, the remote bombs, which don't detonate until you say so. So get them, never let go. It makes most of the boss fights a cakewalk because you just wait till the enemy's over them, then blow them up, hoping you're not in the way. But yeah, Saturn Bomberman is the best Bomberman games. What else did we have? Sega Rally was another big one back in the day. That had a lot of oomph behind it. I had a lot of marketing material with Sega Rally, and honestly, honestly, I never really got on with it. I much preferred Daytona. In fact, if you know the Daytona game from back in the day, and it was even in arcades, you'll know the theme tune. It will just live in your head. I've probably just resurfaced it for a couple of people. I'm like, hey, remember that Daytona track from 30 years ago? Yep, you got that in your head now. If you don't know what I'm about, just go on YouTube, pop it on.
That's literally what I'm probably going to do after this recording. I'm going to Google it.
Trust me, you'll know it in some dark recesses of your mind. If you went into an arcade in the 1990s, like early 2000s, you'll know it. Yeah, so that's some of the most notable games. When it comes to like Sonic, which is like their killer franchise at the time, there was a game being developed called Sonic Extreme, which ultimately was cancelled, mostly because it was taking so long to develop. It was getting close to like the Dreamcast coming out, so they just pretty much scrapped it and just went with Sonic Adventure instead. But Sonic Extreme was meant to be the first Sonic Adventure, but it just didn't happen. So,
didn't know that.
Yeah. I love good games. Guardian Heroes, great co-op side-scrolling beat 'em up with multiple endings, which also got a sequel on the GBA because it was made by Treasure. One of the bad things for the Saturn, though, is it didn't have much in the way of third-party support. It were mostly like in-house ones. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because it did mean the games that did come out first-party were normally of high quality, like Nintendo does. Not to say they weren't all like brilliant. Yeah, another series you may have heard of, which I'm not sure what the status of this franchise is nowadays. I'm not sure if it's been ported recently. Panzer Dragoon, may have heard of, like Sega's answer to Star Fox or Lilac Wars. That's pretty popular. I remember playing that back in the day and being very bad at it. Even recently, restreaming it. It's like, I'm going to play this. It's like, oh, I'm still shit. That's probably the most notable ones that came out on it. But as I say, like pretty much every game I had on the Saturn I enjoyed, probably with the exception of Sega Rally, but that was still beloved by quite a few people. I just felt if it weren't for the getting such a bad start and the mistakes Sega made at launch, it could have done so much better, and we might have even had a different Sonic Avenger beginning to kickstart that entire franchise with. But I do believe it's got at the time, or probably still is, besides PC and modding support, I think the Sega Saturn has the definitive version of Doom on it. Like if you're going to play one from that era, don't get the PlayStation one, get the Saturn one. That's got the best one. Because for some reason or another, the versions of Doom and other things have bits missing, like the Jaguar one, which has no music. It's like, but Saturn managed to pull it off. So well done, Saturn. You win a point. Yeah, this whole session was just an excuse for me to gush about the Saturn console I love, which hardly anybody else I've talked to knows about it. I mean, I know a couple of our viewers know it. I've played it back in the day, and if you did, a hat goes off to you because you were very lucky to get to play this back in the day. Well done for being that lucky. Yeah.
I'm still looking through some of the screenshots of some of the games on there, and I feel like, if I was to play this like back in the day, like if I had my current knowledge of like JRPGs as I do now and played these games back then, I feel like it would be like a completely different thing.
There's quite a few fighting games on it as well, like Darkstalkers 3, Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter Alpha 3, which I believe all were on the PlayStation as well. But you also had stuff like Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Resident Evil. Actually, I do believe the Saturn version of Symphony of the Night was better than the PlayStation for two reasons. One, it's got a whole extra area exclusive to the Saturn. Secondly, the load times are a hell of a lot faster. If you've played the original Symphony of the Night and died, it takes like a solid minute at least for you to go back to the main thing and load your game up, which made dying something that you didn't want to do just because you think, oh fuck, I gotta load the bastard again. So it's got better things. Resident Evil was on it, but I think that's pretty much just the same. And of course, you've got Sonic R on it. And who doesn't like Sonic R apart from most people?
I like Sonic R, but
everybody's Super Sonic Racing on it.
I know. I love the soundtrack. It's one of my favourite soundtracks.
Yeah, it's one of those soundtracks that goes, this does not belong with this game. What the hell is going on? It's so polar.
It doesn't, but it does. That's the thing.
It only seems to now because I think we've just been conditioned over the years to sort of like accept it. But if you pick this up back in the day and you go, this soundtrack is going places, what the hell?
Oh yeah, I guess. But like now, like you expect kind of that from Sonic games, so it's like it's not actually out of place.
Yeah, Sonic didn't have all the friends and cheese factor and fan base it did back then.
No, but hey.
Yeah, that's a Sega Saturn. If you can get the emulator, then I highly recommend giving it a go because there's a load of great games on it. It sadly just got overlooked.
And that's a wrap, unless there's anything else.
I can't think of anything. I'm just still looking through like lists of Sega Saturn games, and the top 10, top 20 lists always just have the same games.
Same with most consoles, really.
Every now and then you see like one website which has something slightly different to it. And it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'm always seeing like Nights into the Dreams, either in like the top, like always the top 3 of any website I go on to. Dragon Force as well, Shining Force.
See, a weird thing about Nights into Dreams is I had that, didn't really rate it, to be honest. I think the most notable thing about Nights into Dreams that you may recognise it from is did it appear in Sonic Adventure in the 3rd level in the casino zone?
Yeah.
One of the pinball tables you play on is Nights into Dreams. There's even a section where you go through like a pseudo level. It's strange.
Yeah, I remember.
In fact, one of the games I played, like I've mentioned it earlier, Shining the Holy Ark, it's on the intro screen. It's got like a thing called Sonic Software Planning, which was basically the beta version of Sonic Team. That's it. I'm out of facts.
Well, if you're out of facts, thanks for listening. You know where to find us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
X.
Fuck off.
I have to autocorrect you.
In the words of Adrian, it's not X, it's Twitter. It's always been Twitter. There you go.
Correct.
Oh, speaking of socials, you may have seen already, if you do watch our socials, this podcast is now available on my YouTube channel. I got a nice little invite saying, would you like to host podcasts on here? I was like, yes, I would. So our podcast is now available on my YouTube channel over at Spanky Rambles. So yay, more free publicity.
Don't forget to also, if you want some more publicity, please check out Spanky's shorts on YouTube as well and his TikTok.
Yeah, they're terrible, but no, that's it.
And then
they're terrible. Check them out.
And watch these 2 on Twitch.
Yes, I'll be doing Ender Lilies and Terraria and Arknights at the moment.
And I'm going to be doing Super Mario RPG very soon.
Oh, I forgot your Elden Ring one. How's that?
Oh, I've literally done one stream of that. So,
yeah, how was it?
Same as every start of Elden Ring one. Run around the map for 3 hours before you even start the goddamn challenge. Because you're like, right, I need a weapon, I need all the heals, It's like, I can't do anything yet. I'd spend it was like 2.25 hours before I even killed my first enemy because I can't attack anyone. But, so I decided to do a sleep weapons only run, which I hadn't seen anyone do until I started it, and then I found a YouTube who did it. Although they did it a very different way to how I planned it, so it's still unique, damn it.
Yep, it's still unique. Upload it to YouTube.
Maybe.
You can watch these 2 on Twitch as well. They'll be streaming most days. Am I missing anything else?
No, we're streaming most days apart from the days that we don't.
Don't think I'm missing anything else.
Tuesday and a Friday.
And you'll hear us again in 2 weeks. Like always. Episode 70. Fucking hell.
Not nice.
What do you mean not nice?
Well, last episode was nice.
Oh. Right. This is like episode 70. Not nice. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm not going to call it that.
Yeah, we're not calling it that.
I may as well just say this episode is shit. I don't want...
What?
Spanky Sega Saturn essay.
Oh, I've already got a title.
Oh.
He's way ahead of you. I'll find out in a second.
If I go quiet, it's because I'm typing something.
Anyway, listen to Retro Smashed video game podcast as well, because they're good boys. And enjoy your week, whatever you do. And you'll hear us again soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and happy 2024.
Oh, yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.